So we have just spoken about how animals can get this water that they need in order to survive from the plants that they eat. So for example, if they are herbivores or omnivores, they can get water from plants. But there are other ways in which animals can get water. Now, can you see the picture of the leopard? Now, what is the leopard doing? Well, the leopard is drinking from what looks like either a stream or a river. And yes, this is another way in which animals can get the water that they need in order to survive. They can get it by drinking from a river, from a stream, or even from a puddle. So there we go. We have two different ways in which animals can get this water. They can get it from plants, or they can get it from drinking from streams, rivers, or even puddles. Now, there is another way that some animals can get this water that they need in order to survive. Now, can you see the picture of the crocodile and the picture of the fish? Well, we know that a fish lives underwater, doesn't it? Now, where does a crocodile live? Well, a crocodile is a reptile, and reptiles, remember, can live on land, but they can also live underwater. So therefore, both a crocodile and a fish live underwater, and they can get the water that they need in order to survive by absorbing it, by soaking it up through their skin. So the water that they need enters their body through their skin. That's very interesting, isn't it? So therefore, we have three different ways in which animals can get the water that they need in order to survive. So they can get it from plants that they eat, they can get it by drinking from rivers, streams, or even puddles. And then some animals, like the crocodile and the fish, can get water by absorbing it through their body. Now, remember I said that some animals need more water than others. Well, here we have a picture of a camel. Now, where do camels live? Well, camels live in very dry deserts, don't they? And in a desert, there isn't much water at all. So camels have ways of going for a long time without water. So they've adapted to this very hot temperature where there's very little water. And they have done this by storing the water that they do find inside their bodies. And this means that they can go a long time without water. And a camel can go for weeks without drinking any water, which is very interesting, isn't it? Because we wouldn't be able to go for weeks without drinking water, just like a camel. But that's because the camel has adapted to these very hot temperatures where there is very little water. So there we go. We have learnt two of the basic needs. We've got our first need, which is food, and our second need, which is water. Now, what do you think the third thing is that all animals need in order to survive? Well, the third thing that all animals need in order to survive is air, okay? And air contains a gas called oxygen, and all animals need oxygen in order to survive. But how do we get this oxygen? Well, we breathe in air, we breathe in this oxygen through our lungs. Okay, now does everybody know where their lungs are? Well, can you see the picture there with the arrow pointing towards the two lungs? Well, our lungs are inside our chest and they are protected by our ribs. So can everybody feel their ribs now? Well, yes, inside your ribs are your lungs, which help you to get the oxygen that you need in order to survive. So mammals have lungs, birds have lungs, insects have lungs. But what about, reptiles have lungs as well, but what about the animals that don't have lungs? How do they get the oxygen that they need in order to survive? Well, here we have a fish. Now, a fish doesn't have lungs, but a fish, as well as other animals living underwater, still need this oxygen, just like other animals do. Now, there is oxygen in the water, but as I said, fish do not have lungs, so they can't breathe in this oxygen using their lungs, but instead they have gills, so they take in this oxygen through their gills. Now, can you see the red arrow pointing to this fish's gills? So this is how this fish gets the oxygen that it needs in order to survive. So fish have gills and all other animals have lungs in order to get the oxygen that they need in order to survive. But remember, there are some mammals that live underwater, like a dolphin and a whale. Now, dolphins and whales are mammals, so therefore, even though they live underwater, they have lungs, just like other mammals, and therefore they breathe in this oxygen using their lungs rather than taking it in through gills like other fish, because remember, whales and dolphins are not fish. They are mammals, so don't get tricked out with that one, okay? Right, so we have learnt the 3 basic needs for survival. So the 3 things that all animals need in order to survive. Now, can you remember these 3 things that all animals, including humans, need to survive? Could you pause the video and have a think for me? Okay, Yeti, so let's see if you've remembered. So the first thing that we learned about, the first basic need that we learned about, was that all animals need food to survive. Now, they can get food in different ways. So some animals are herbivores, some animals are omnivores, and some animals are carnivores. So they eat different things, but they all need this food in order to survive. The second thing we learned about that all animals need to survive, the second basic need, was water. So all animals need water to survive. And remember, there are lots of different ways that animals can get water in order to survive. They can get it from eating plants. So if you're an omnivore or a herbivore, you will get water by eating plants. You can also get water by drinking from streams, rivers, or even puddles. But then some animals who live underwater can also get water by absorbing it through their skin, so soaking it up through their skin into their body. And then the last basic need that we've just learned about is oxygen. So all animals need oxygen in order to survive. Now, there are 2 different ways in which animals get this oxygen. So fish get this oxygen from the water using their gills, and then other animals get this oxygen by breathing it in through their lungs, which you will find in your chest. Okay, now remember again, a whale and a dolphin are not fish, they are mammals. So therefore they get this oxygen by breathing it in through their lungs. Well, fantastic, well done if you remembered all of that from this lesson. So let's have a look at your task now. So you have 3 different animals. You've got a horse, you've got a bear, and you've got a dolphin. Now you need to tell me how each of these animals get their basic needs. So how they get their food, how they get their oxygen, and how they get their water. Now I have helped you with the first one for horse. So I've said that a horse gets its food by eating plants because a horse is a herbivore. Okay, now thinking about oxygen, you need to think about what type of animal is a horse, and therefore how will it get oxygen? And then think about for water. Well, what does the animal eat? Might that help it get water? Or might it drink water from a stream? Or does it live underwater so it can absorb water through its skin? Okay, so you have 3 different animals and you need to decide how they get these basic needs. And then you have another box where I would like you to choose an animal. You can choose any animal. And again, you need to decide how it gets its food, its oxygen, and its water. Now, when you finish that task, I would like you to have a go at the plenary. So you have 4 questions. Number 1, describe the difference between a carnivore, a herbivore, and an omnivore. Number 2, why do animals need food? So think about what it gives you, how it helps your body. Then number 3, name 2 places that animals can get water from. And number 4, name 2 different ways animals can take in oxygen. So yes, you need to do your first task, where you need to fill in how they get their food, their oxygen, and their water, which you will find on Year 2 Science, 22nd of February, Resource 1. And then you need to complete the plenary. And I would like to send these answers, if you could, to the office when you send your other work, so I can see how you've got on in this lesson. Okay, well, have a lovely rest of your day, Year 2, and I will see you in our next science lesson. Bye.